Opposing Gloves here, and this is the 57th video in the Kontakt from the Ground Up tutorial series. At least I hope it's number 57. And we are going to talk about the last remaining modulation sources. So we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to go to our library, and we're going to add a, you guessed it, string ensemble. And then we're going to go into our background here. I like this one because there's not a whole bunch going on, so it's easy to show you what to do. So we go to our modules, and we have these last few ones that generate interesting controlling signals. The step modulator is actually kind of familiar with, so we're going to control the tuning today. And so on our step modulator, we're going to give it full reign. So it's going to be really expressive, and it has, so these are the values that it's at. This is 0, so if it goes up to 100, so up is all the way on, so the full modulation. Down is actually negative modulation. In the case of pitch, which is what we're controlling, as you can see labeled here, it is going to go down in pitch, and then this is no change. It's 0. So, and it's shown right here, like number 0 at what percent. And so you can actually control the frequency at which this scrolls through this sequence. So if we were to play some notes now. Oh, flush me. Now if you were to speed it up. Yeah. Sounds like a computer with a hive. There's some genre of music based on like speeding pitch up really fast. I forgot what it was called though. And then because it's like super tone or something like that, because it resembles more of a tone. So you can actually click on the hertz value. You can do this with anything. I'm sure you've picked this up throughout the series. And you can instead sync it to your DAW, the tempo in your DAW. So you could put it at 8th notes. And now if we play a note. And you can control the number of steps in here. So you could go, whoa, only 3 steps. And so you can do things like that. Now, they have this re-trigger. It's the same way that everything else works. So right now, every time I hit a new note, if I'm holding down a new, so if I hit a note and then I hit a second note, it gets its own step sequencer signal sent to it. But if we want it to all sync up to the same one, just turn that off. And that works. Now, one shot, it'll play through it once, and then you'll never hear it again for the rest of the time because it's played through it. That's what one shot is. Not even if you have re-trigger on, because it's played through it. So that's an interesting note about one shot. I wonder if I'm misinterpreting this. Drop a comment if you know. We have tools, and so these are really cool. These are useful. There's reset, very useful tool. We're going to increase our step count to 8. Double click to type in a value. And you also have snap to 1/12. So these are now our tones in our scale. So if we go up 1, that's 1 semitone above. Oh, this is a chromatic scale. So and you go up to 12, that's an octave. We go down an octave, and then we could go up 4, which is a major third. Oh, it even tells you the note when you have it on. Look at that, right next to the number. I'm pointing at it, but you can't see my hand. So now this should have some resemblance to some sort of an art. That's kind of cool. So that's what those do. And that is pretty much everything there is to know about this particular module. Let's go ahead and delete it. So right click, delete. And this is the envelope follower. And so what this does is it generates an envelope. It's like the transient master. It generates an envelope based on the volume that it perceives. And so keep in mind, this is an envelope still. So we can still control how fast it attacks and decays. And basically this is controlling the response time to the envelope, to the signal coming into it. So this is kind of more of an abstract concept. You can adjust and adapt the gain, so how the envelope responds to volume. So if you get a lot of volume, it will assume it's actually 12 decibels softer. Because keep in mind, it's basically one of these guys. It just changes with the volume. So as your sound is louder, it will get louder faster. I mean, it'll go up in pitch faster, and as your sound is softer, it'll go down in pitch, slower. There we go, slower. See, so it's a much slower. If you go loud, it's much faster. So it adjusts these times for us, but we could set general basic starting points for them to react to. So that's an interesting one. You know, if you guys come up with some really creative ways to use this, and drop them in the comments, because that'd be really cool. So this last one may not work on this particular instrument, but it's glide. So if you want to do portamento, this is kind of the way you would do it. So you could drop it on anything, but I'm going to drop it on the tuning because that's where it makes sense. We're going to give it full dominion. And basically what it is you've got two knobs. And you could set it to speed or to time if you want it to sync up with your DAW in some way. But you can also just click the milliseconds thing and use that. So the speed is whenever you hit a note, it'll keep in mind what that pitch was. And as you hit another note, it will slide up to that top note, creating a glide, a portamento. But as you can see here, it's not working. And I have a feeling it's because of the way the instrument's been set up to interpret the samples. So we're going to go to a different instrument. And this, yeah, that was an interesting discovery when I found that. So we have a straight pad here. Sounds like this. And we're going to add a modulation source to the tuning. We're going to add the glide, and we're going to make this a portamento. So you see it's already got quite a bit going on, but this shouldn't scare you because you know exactly what all these things are. They're just different controller sources because on their interface, they've got a lot going on. So we have a glide, and if we go to our modulation and we come down here to, actually, you know what? Glide, let's click our little fast arrow because it highlights it for us. And if you want to go back up, you know the deal. So we have speed and time. We've already talked about this, but now you'll hear the effect. So it'll take 151 milliseconds. So we hit a note, and it's keeping in mind what that note is, and it will take this amount of time to slide to the next note that we hit. So if we hit another note, as you see, it works. If we want it to be much kind of smoother, take it down to like 30 milliseconds. Or even faster, like 15. So it's a lot more obvious on really big jumps, especially when it's a really slow speed. This could be a riser technique. So you'll notice when you're playing polyphony, so more than one note, it doesn't take an effect. But if you hit a note and then go, oh, that's strange. There it goes. Now it's working. Yeah, see, it's been doing all sorts of weird things, man. I don't know if it's because it's going so slow, but to me, it sounds like... That's strange. Because this should be slower than that one, and these ones are for some reason not as slow. Weird stuff, man. I bet it has to do... I bet it gets complicated when you get into keyboard mapping. I'm willing to bet it has to do with stretched out samples. That's what I'm willing to bet. But a lot of people don't use this module for this anyways. In the scripts, so if we turn this off, in the scripting editor, there is a Unison Portamento script. They actually have theirs on, and it's on the main interface, and it allows you to do Portamento in a much more conventional manner. And again, if you want to turn it on, you just make sure that you insert the make perf view available. They don't have their perf view available because they're referencing this script in another script that is controlling all their crazy knobs and buttons and things in here. And so we are so that is the modulation sources. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We're getting really close to being done, or I'm getting really close to being done with this series. If I were to go farther into like creating an interface and things like that, it'd probably be in the scripting series where I cover backgrounds, and I probably wouldn't cover graphics in that series because Photoshop's not on this computer. But yes, if you have any questions, again, drop them in there. Any reasons to subscribe, you should list reasons to subscribe to my channel because I think that's like a healthy mental exercise people should do when they wake up every morning. It will give them more positive outlook on life, like reasons to do things. So, yep, and have a blessed day.